team, so people know about that. And then my are people selfish and the personal connection. The others you can spin however you want.
Hey, Dr. B.
Yes.
So while the judge is on the phone out here, I'm gonna bring you in.
Okay, here we go. We're going mobile. I hope you're ready. We're gonna go out and see what our chef is doing. I think he's doing good stuff. So here we go. We're traveling. We're on the radio, almost. We're gonna call in. We're heading out to where our chef is. Dr. B, may I have your phone? Say good morning again, Sherry.
Good morning again, Sherry.
Hey, I love that. She was just like my dad. Picked right up on that. And there's Action Jackson. He's helping us out. Uh-oh. There he is. There's our chef.
So Dr. B, he's going to open the show back up. He's going to pitch it to you.
Perfect. So, here we go. Jordan, what on earth are we cooking out here?
All right, we've got just our early morning oatmeal pancakes. We kind of did a fall twist with cinnamon, fresh nutmeg, and then we're going to do a fresh Honeycrisp apple compote with pumpkins, with pancakes.
With pancakes, fresh apple cinnamon compote.
Yes.
So did you have to go to the dump for that? What do you get? I mean, what is a compote?
You know, compote is one of those words that's it's kind of like a chunky sauce, typically with a fruit.
So what other kind of compotes can you make with a fruit?
We could do peach compote, apricot compote, cherry compote. That's a really good cherry compote with a little bit of port in that. Is wonderful with steak around the holidays.
Ooh, port.
But as you see, as I've got my pancakes here, this was our
We're going to zoom in so you can see the pancakes.
All right, here's just our classic oatmeal spice pancakes. But to the pan, I'm going to add in, for the apple compote, this is the combination of maple syrup, Honeycrisp apple, try to get it in here, and then we're going to add in a little bit of lemon for acidity. A little bit of lemon. We're just gonna let that cook down.
So, do we have any oil in there right now?
There's no oil. All I did in the pan was when I cooked the pancakes, I did a little bit of butter. If you don't want to use butter, you can just use a little bit of oil in there as well.
Now, would you recommend against using like an olive oil and an avocado oil because of maybe the flavor it may bring with it?
Yeah, I would typically stay away from for the pancakes or anything sweet, the olive oil or the avocado oil. Typically it's canola oil, butter, just because you want to kind of get in that breakfast profile.
Well, and of course, I'm going to tell you, real butter. Real butter is always fantastic.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the other things, you know, you could just do fresh fruit. You could do fresh apples. One of the other things I forgot to say that I added into the pancakes was flaxseed.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're talking with Jordan Swim, our executive chef right now. We're YouTubing a little bit, Dr. B. We're trying to come into the 21st century there, or we're on the 21st century, right, Jordan?
We are, yes, yes. Glad to be here. We've got our oatmeal spice pancakes and our apple compote.
And how's it smelling out here, Jordan?
It smells great. It smells like fall. All we need is a good cup of coffee and a nice foggy morning.
So, Action, you heard that. We need a good cup of coffee. Can you take care of that for us? All right, fantastic. Well, Kim, we're going to kick it back to you as we continue to cook apple compote out here with our pancakes.
That's
Isn't
great.
it fun?
It is fun.
Man, thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
Seriously, this is exciting. All right.
So then I'll bring these back in and y'all can taste them.
All right, sounds good.
Perfect.
Sounds good. Did I get enough plates and everything for everybody?
Oh, yeah.
See, if you were in studio with us at 6 o'clock in the morning, you too could have executive chef-style pancakes and apple compote.
Look forward to it.
All right. Here we go. We're back in studio.
He is the Vice President of Touched by Suicide in North Texas. It's a nonprofit organization that provides free support for those affected by a suicide of a loved one. And we've been talking about this for a while. Sherry, you know, one of the things that is sometimes thought is that people who try to kill themselves are just selfish.
Very cool.
What do you think about that kind of statement?
We're going back.
Well, that despite the fact that many people still think that is a myth, I wanted to mention that our organization, Touched by Suicide, if you go to touchedbysuicide.net, immediately a video will pop up that the organization has made called Let's Talk About It. And it, of course, is suicide. One of our members of our board, Lanelia Renette, who lost a teenage son to suicide, she says, I can clear a room just by saying my son killed himself or my son committed suicide. We need to destigmatize that word. This is part of a mental illness. If somebody had died by cancer or by liver failure, we would not clear the room when that was discussed. But with suicide, because it's such an invisible illness, people tend to think that they take the cowardly way out, or they're selfish, they're not thinking about their families. What I hope people understand after listening to this is that these people are not legally insane, but they have lost rationality to the point of desperation. It's very hard to explain that to someone who has not experienced that, but because it is so invisible, intangible. But these people get to a point where life no longer matters, I'm no longer afraid of death, and I have no self-worth. When those three things converge, according to one of the people in the research field, Thomas Joyner, who's written a book, The Myths of Suicide, when those three factors meet, that's when the person's ready to kill themselves. They aren't able to think about their families. They aren't able to think about an alternative solution.
So because of the mental illness, they're in so much pain at that point that they don't see any other way out.
That's a very accurate way of describing it, yes. So please don't think these people are selfish or cowardly. This is the only way that they can see.
And I know it's kind of a personal question, but have you been touched by suicide?
I'm very pleased you asked that, because most people when I go around believe that I've lost someone to suicide, which I have indirectly through marriage. A relative that I knew, I found out a few years afterwards that he had killed himself, and that upset me very much. But when I was in college in 1978, I attempted suicide. I took a lethal dose of over-the-counter medicine. Actually, the doctor informed me it was 3 times the lethal dose for my body, and somehow I survived. So I have personal experience on what it feels like to see no other way out. I do not see myself as cowardly or selfish. I see myself as having a mental illness that I've obviously received treatment for, and it opened up a door into a career for me as well.
So one of the things about it is if a person does not complete the suicide, there's a hope for them to recover fully and live a productive life and never have the problem.
Yes, just because someone has attempted doesn't mean it is, pardon the statement, but a death sentence. There is help, but these people need support. They need support from their families instead of, how could you do that to us? Statements like that are not helpful. They obviously might need some professional assistance, mental health intervention. In Denton County, where I work and live, the MHMR of Denton County is very active in suicide. They have a Denton Regional Suicide Prevention Coalition that I'm on the steering committee. We'll talk in a few minutes about one of their efforts, the LOSS team. But this coalition has realized the fact that most people see their primary care physician within 30 days of actually killing themselves. So we have gone out to primary care physicians in Denton County and done free trainings to the medical offices, including all the staff, on what to look for in their clients, because some of those people walking in the door with physical problems are actually having very serious symptoms of depression, and the physician is probably the last professional that will see them before they attempt to kill themselves.
One of the things that I think is still a myth, but I still hear it once in a while, well, you don't want to talk about it because that might give them an idea to do it.
That is a myth. That's why our video is called Let's Talk About It. Talking about it, wearing a bracelet that says, touched by suicide, mentioning it is not going to conjure up the idea. In fact, recently the Texas legislature has required middle schools and high schools to have 4 hours, I believe, of a curriculum during middle school years and high school years on suicide prevention, and also on what to do if a friend of yours is thinking about suicide.
So is that what the LOSS team does? They go out and do education for, you mentioned doctors' offices, is that through the LOSS team?
No, that's through the Suicide Prevention Coalition, but the LOSS team, there is one in Tarrant County through Mental Health America. LOSS stands for Local Outreach to Suicide Survivors, and these are a group of people, usually a mental health professional, and a layperson that's experienced a loss due to suicide, they will go out to the scene of where a suicide has occurred, and they meet with the family. Obviously, this is a very chaotic environment. There's police and all kinds of sirens and things. But the family is distraught, and the family usually takes about, each person in the family takes about 2 to 3 years before they seek mental health assistance. The reason this is so important is that people that have been directly exposed to a suicide generally have a 50% higher risk of attempting themselves. In other words, when you're touched by suicide, you are deeply affected, and it could in turn result in a future suicide. So the loss team either goes out to the scene or meets with the family a day or two afterwards and works with the family and tries to get them connected to some mental health support groups such as our Touched by Suicide.
So Sherry, are there any things that you could give that families could be looking for in a loved one, any signs they should be watching for?
I can give some that are described in the books, but from my personal experience, I'm just talking about me now, no one knew. I was a high achiever, awards, friendly, social. There were no signs. It was kept inside my head throughout my childhood that I was depressed and that I had self-esteem issues. But for our listeners, I would hope that if you see a change in someone that you care about, a change in their demeanor, a change in the way they're presenting themselves, making vague statements like, well, it won't matter after a while, or giving up things they love, giving up their passions, those are all warning signs that something is wrong.
Right. So being aware of that and talking about it. And one of the things I really like too is that, you didn't use the word about when people have killed themselves being successful suicide. You said completed suicide. That makes sense. I like that much better.
Yes, successful indicates a positive aspect, and I do want to say, though, some people believe that suicide is a sin. We at Touched by Suicide do not see that. We see it as a symptom of mental illness.
Can you give us that website one more time?
Sure. It is touchedbysuicide.net, and our video is on the website.
All right. Thank you, Sherry, for being with us this morning.
Well, I'll tell you what, Dr. B, if folks can't get out there and help somebody out, then they need to tune into our podcast next week when we get those downloads. Stay tuned as we continue to talk more preventative measures and how to help other families. And also, here in a minute, because I can smell it brewing, we're going to be having pancakes and apple compote.
And can the coffee be there too?
I don't know. We got to talk to Action about that. So, Action, take us away to the break. Have you heard back from Denise by any chance?
Pardon?
Have you heard back from Denise by any chance?
I haven't checked that. You don't think so?
Do you know what the person's website is?
Yeah, I have her website.
Yeah, I just want to talk about the walk this weekend and how Denton County is going to have a loss team as well.
Ouch. Oh, Sherry's attention.
Yes, sir.
If you'll look at our website, if I can do a commercial.
And it turned out to be a
If you can
suicide
give me
I saw
her
last
website,
night. Isn't
I'll
that-
just do a commercial off the top of my head.
First responders.
Oh,
I have.
100.
Sorry, I'm not used to all this. First responders like firemen, EMS, and police have higher